The guy shouts to the other not to rely on skills alone. He must move in his own way. Attack in his own way too. He attacks the main character and shouts that otherwise he will immediately lose. He groans in pain, and the first one finishes off, asking where his defensive stance is. If he does not fight him face to face, it will be more difficult for him to use skills. He shouts that in addition to the ability to move quickly, he must be able to instantly deflect any blow. He shouts that he has the skill of hardness. He has enough of it, and he shouts again that he is too naive, because there are blows that can literally throw him into the wall. The already beaten Liu Lai lie and think, so this is the real strength of the leader of the Dragon Fang, and that he greatly underestimated them. The girl agrees and says that it seems that all these people really want to study. The leader demands the following. Someone says that she is not sure that she likes it. This guy says that the number of newcomers will increase after the tournament, so he should be happy. The girl tells him that there used to be even more of them. She says dreamily that it's all thanks to Errol, who showed her father that he's still worth something. The guy gets up and asks where the teacher is now. She wonders what kind of teacher, and then asks if he's talking about Errol. She indignantly asks him if he is not older, why he calls him a teacher. He admiringly says that he owes him his life. He happily tells everyone that after everyone saw the teacher at the tournament, a lot of people wanted to join them. They all want to see him as soon as possible. The girl begins to tense up. Then she cries out in tears why he left her alone, even after he promised her a wedding. That guy looks at her in surprise. The cart rides with the hero, who looks around and thinks it's getting colder. The cartman asks his dear client if he is really doing well. He turns around and says that for the winner of the Holy Sword Cup to leave the city like this has never happened before. Errol replies that, even so, there is nothing else to do in that place. He agrees and says it's true. Everyone comes here for this tournament. He wonders what to do in the village where he was born. Does he have any business there? Is it not a quiet village? Errol replies that this is not the case. On the contrary, he has one goal in this village. He asks what it could be. He thoughtfully replies that perhaps now he can defeat his mother. After thinking about it, he tells the guy that he says interesting things, because every mother is strong. The guy replies that he's not joking. In a village surrounded by mountains and various vegetation, a girl picks a flower, sniffs it, and says what a pleasant fragrance. You must not forget to put it in a large vase. She lovingly says that when Errol returns, she will have something to meet him with. Errol stands behind her and watches. He says that, in his opinion, she would have guessed that he was here, even if he had disappeared. The mother happily says that she only realized this a few seconds ago. She congratulates him on his return. She says he seems to have become stronger. She can tell that just by looking at him. Errol asks her. Then she knows what he's thinking right now. The mother replies that, of course, she knows. She is still his mother. She thoughtfully suggests that she can decorate their house with them. Errol offers to go to the training field in the mountains, and she agrees. In the village, all sorts of merchants do their business. But here they are frightened by the sounds. They are screaming in panic. What is going on? Someone is shouting to look at the western forest, because there is lightning and thunder. One assumes it may be some kind of natural disaster. The other shouts to quickly report it to the police. In another place, the driver asks his client, a dear traveler, if she is not afraid here. It seems that a war has begun here. Reina tells him that flashes of light are normal. Just classless having fun. She says that if he is worried, then she will get off and walk by herself. Reina arrives at a house, knocks, and then the door opens. A little girl asks her if she can help her. She is surprised that a small child came out. She asks if someone named Errol lives here. The little girl frowns, looks at her forms, and then slams the door, saying that she does not understand cow language, thereby surprising and outraging Reina. She is still standing thoughtfully in front of the door, and Errol and his mother come up from behind. The mother is happy. Is it really Arella's friend? Then the door opens, and a little girl rushes to them and congratulates her brother and mother on their return. Reina doesn't understand what kind of child this is. Mila is in Errol's arms. He represents her. Mila asks him how his battle with Mom is going. The mother happily announces that she has lost after all, and that Errol is so resilient. Errol thinks that there was a competition for who has more stamina. That's not how he wanted to win. His mother says he seems to have learned a lot in the City of Swords. She asks me to tell her everything about what happened there. The mother calls Mila to her and asks her to hug her mother too. Errol lets Mila go. The mother adds, asking to tell everything, but without talking about swords. Errol doesn't understand. He has nothing else to talk about. The mother says she wants to hear about how their romance began, hinting at Reina. She likes love stories. Mila doesn't like it. Errol says her name is Reina, and they live together in the city. She screams in panic that she is just an ordinary guild member. Errol remembers and says he forgot to ask. He asks Reina why she came here. She says she's here because he suddenly disappeared from the guild. He indifferently says that he left a letter. Reina shouts that people usually say goodbye in person. Reina sadly tells him that there were many people who suddenly left the guild for various reasons, like loss of motivation. Reina says she thought maybe something had happened to him. Maybe he was sick or depressed. Errol replies that he is fine. He just saw all the swordsman's skills and therefore left. The mother says she came all this way just because she was worried. She says she probably loves him. Mila screams at her mom not to take Reina's word for it. Reina denies and says she was born here too. Reina adds that he has a request for Farah. That is, for Errol's mother. She looks at her in surprise. Really to her. The mother speaks in advance with emotion. Does she really want to learn about all the things that Errol likes? She will be happy to learn everything from her. First, she wants to say about the soup that he loves. Reina now understands why Errol doesn't like to talk too much. She is disappointed to realize that there is no progress. Reina declares that she wants to become a strong swordsman. She wants to dance with her sword as beautifully as Errol. She thought about how best to achieve this and found only one way out. She bows to Farah and asks her to make her disciple. Errol, his mother, and even his little sister look at her in surprise. Mila sadly says that she will refuse her now. Errol agrees, saying that mom does not like teaching others much. Farah continues to look at Reina, who is waiting for an answer. She wants to say something, but then Evans comes in and shouts at Farah. Farah asks him why there is such a rush. He shouts that they have seen a natural disaster in the mountains to the west. He asks if she knows anything about it. There were thunderclaps and fire lit up the sky. Farah smiles awkwardly. Errol thinks that she and her mother fought in that place. Evan says that's why he was going to ask her. Then he looks around and sees Reina, who is also his daughter. Farah says she's Evan's daughter, and that she looks just like her mother. Evans asks her why she's at the Headlights house. They don't know what to answer. Farah says that the fact is that from now on, she is undergoing her training as a future wife. Evans is embarrassed and says with a hint, covering his mouth with his hand, that he understands, and that Reina has grown up after all. Reina screams in panic that this is not true. Farah tells her not to be so nervous, and Reina keeps saying that she wants to learn more about swords. Here Mila also shouts to her mother that there will be enough swords. Everyone looks at her. Mila looks at her brother and asks, he didn't want that either. However, Errol is no longer with them. They wonder where he's gone. Someone suggests checking out the forest to the west, and they take Reina with them. At this time, Errol knocks on someone's house. He is told to enter. He opens the door and tells his father that he has returned home. His father congratulates him on this. He says that he heard Mila's voice outside. Did he bring a nice girl? Errol starts saying that Reina is not only cute. The father wonders if this is true. Then he should see her immediately. He says that. Besides, he wants to talk to him about something. He asks what it is. He says that he won the duel with his mother today. His father congratulates him and says he knew he could. Errol says that the second he won, he felt that what he was doing at all for had evaporated. He clenches his fists and says that, of course, he is going to continue training, but now he has no goal. He does not think he can continue to train as hard as before. He says that he still does not want to rest and is not satisfied with moving forward half-heartedly. His father listens to him attentively. Errol says that's why he wants to go in a different direction now. He turns to his father and asks if he can teach him magic. His father looks at him in disbelief. A second later, a loud, confused scream is heard. Then Mila screams that she has found a brother, and then tells her father that he will dislocate his jaw like that. Errol's mother tells Reina that if she takes on teaching her, then she should wear something. She hands some clothes to her. Reina thinks that learning from the Princess of Blades requires special equipment. Reina agrees, and her mother says that this is the right answer. Reina puts on these clothes and indignantly shouts that it is an apron. The mother says happily that they are the same now. Mila thinks that only she and her mom can wear the same clothes. Reina says it looks like they're going to be cooking right now. She replies that it is. That's exactly what they will do. She tells her that she will teach her how to cook Errol's favorite dishes. Reina's eyes bulge in disbelief. She starts awkwardly saying that she wanted her to teach her blade fighting skills. She says it's also a blade. Reina wants to object, but she says that. Did she know that Errol also studied with her? There are swordsmen who use knives as weapons, so these skills may be useful to her. She remembers these words of Errol. She suddenly shouts that she is ready and that she will not give in to him in this. Mila sighs and says what a simpleton she is. The mother holds out the vegetable and says then, to start, cut the cabbage into pieces. She confidently picks up a knife and cabbage, but then slows down, looking at the vegetable. Mila looks at it and says, disappointed, that she has never cut vegetables before. Reina is awkwardly silent. Then she starts screaming in a panic that, of course not, but it's not a problem. Mila looks at her. Reina asks if it's true that she just has to cut into pieces. She abruptly raises the knife and screams that she just has to literally cut them using all her might. The mother looks surprised, and Mila shouts that this is not a cooking rack. Reina loudly lowers the knife on the cabbage, which makes a loud sound. Errol's father and he turn around in surprise in the library, wondering what that sound is. They come to the kitchen, and the father asks if everyone is safe. The mother turns to them and sweetly says that everything is fine. They just chopped some vegetables. He stands guiltily in the background, and his father asks if they really used bombs for this. Mila asks Reina reproachfully if she knows that she broke Mila's mug. Reina tells her that she is very sorry. The mother looks and remembers Ferradono. Later, on a walk with Reina's father, he says that he is sincerely grateful that she is teaching his beautiful daughter combat skills. Evan says he knows it's pretty audacious, but he has high hopes for her without even touching on her swordsmanship skills. Farah turns to him and asks him to give an example. He begins to say that when he lost his wife, he swore that he would do his best to raise Reina properly. Farah says Reina is very honest and strong. Evan says he agrees and that he always brags to her. But since he's been missing from work all the time, he hasn't been able to teach her all the household chores. Besides, he had heard that a family with one father took care of her in the city, so life there must have been similar to them. Farah thinks about it. Evan says she must be a zero housewife. It's great if she can learn a lot. Farah tells him that she thinks he worries too much about her. She says that they live together in the guilds. She must have learned something there. Evans is surprised to say that now that she has said it, it seems that he was worried for nothing. Returning to household chores, Farah tells Reina that she sees the need to teach her household chores from scratch. She resists and says that just the skills of a swordsman will be more than enough for her. Farah says sternly that no, that won't do. Farah tells her that if she wants to learn the strongest swordsman skills, she must first get her body and mind in perfect condition. She must be able to do the simplest things in her daily life. She sadly agrees. Farah says that, therefore, from now on she will live and study here. The father in the background is crazy and tells his wife that she seems to have fun. Errol just wonders if he's going to live with Reina again, and Mila is horrified by such news. Mila screams and cries to her mom, asking only not Reina. After a while, the father and Errol himself exhale, saying that the kitchen has been restored. My father says he wanted to update it anyway, so the chance came. They go with their son with tools. Errol asks his father if he could fix it with magic, then why did he do it manually? My father says that in general his wife said that she likes it when it smells like sawdust. Errol says he remembers and asks what's the point. His father is surprised by his reaction. He asks his son if he really wanted to see some magic besides the one described in the books. Errol admits it. His father had already told him this, but in his opinion, it was better for Errol to give up on magic. People usually do not have any magical power. My father says that after their conversation, he studied several books and found no records that any type of magic could be found in classless ones. Errol asks his father, it doesn't mean that it's impossible. My father says yes. Errol tells him that he won the Holy Sword Cup as a classless one. Then the father says that this alone shows that his potential should not be underestimated. He says that, however, it has become possible because they are talking about swords, and swords and magic are different things. He takes out a sword without half a blade and tells his son that it is one of the swords he used to practice. Even if he is not a swordsman, he can hold it. So with enough practice, he becomes a swordsman. However, with magic, it's like he doesn't have hands to hold a sword, and given that, practice is useless. Errol agrees in his mind and thinks it must be difficult. Errol tells his father that he said that people do not contain any magical power. How can he even say such a thing? The father raises his head in disbelief and looks at him expectantly. He says that once upon a time, after he received the blessing, he was able to use magic. He sees his son and says he doesn't seem to agree with that. Errol says that based on this, saying that he doesn't have magic is quite a stretch. It's just that he couldn't check if he had magic power because he doesn't know the skills. His father looks at him thoughtfully. The son says that he also rummaged through the manuscripts and found no refutation of this. He confidently says that, therefore, there is still a chance that he has magic power inside. The panicked father says that he doesn't see anything like that, but if that's the case, then he should be able to use magic even now. The amount of magical power they have is small, Without a blessing, they can't even turn to it. His father tells him that this does not deny that there is such a chance. He is still surprised that he came to this conclusion. He replies that it's all because there was one incident with him that made him believe it. His father looks at him in surprise, and Errol says that since he doesn't know anything about it, he wants his father to help him figure it out, since he knows magic skills. He says that in the guild, Reina beat him every day. The father is horrified and asks why, but then remembers. He says that although he has heard about it, she is a girl with a tsundere character. He replies that everything was so that he could learn the skill of hardness. Also, she is more tsundere than anyone else. Spending your days this way, he remembers the days when, in training, a girl with a bow on her head shouted at Errol that this was enough. What was he doing at all? Their expenses for holy water would skyrocket because of this. He then asked if he hadn't brought them most of the budget. Then she replied that in any case, they should reduce the guild's expenses. She then held out a bag and said that these medicines were in the pantry. Let him use them for recovery. Reina was outraged at the time. Really just like that. What effect do they have at all? She replies. Who knows? She thinks they taste good. Reina was outraged that she was taking it so lightly. Errol opens the bottle and says that in a sense they will train his hardness skill. Reina then asked if he really wanted to try them. He drinks. The girls ask if he's okay. It's not poison. He replies that he feels a little better. Then she screams that with them they can save some money. After that, he found out exactly what it was, and they turned out to be some kind of magic power potions. The father is very surprised by this story. Errol asks, because it's strange, why he felt better if there was no power in him. Then Errol began to wonder if people actually have magical powers. To find out if it was an accident, he continued to drink them, and as a result, every time he felt that something was being restored in him, he wants to assume something, but his father shouts that they have a good chance. When he drinks the same potion, he feels the same way. The father asks his son if he can feel it without potions. He replies that he can. The father asks if he can move it inside his body. He replies that he can. The father then tells him to try to pull it out. Imagine that it comes out at a certain point on his arm. Errol looks at his palm and says he will try. After a while, some smoke comes out of his palm. The father joyfully shouts that without a doubt, it is a magical force. He shouts that he is already without a doubt the best son. He asks if he can use magic now. Errol tells his father that he has already. His eyes close. The chair reclines and he faints. The father stands in horror and calls for his son. He picks up his son and awkwardly says that he seems to have used all his magic power. Then he will bring him a potion. Errol asks if he has used it. He feels as if he has woken up after a cold. The father asks his son what he should understand, why they can't define magic themselves. Errol forcefully says that this is because there is very little of it in them. The father holds out the potion and says that it is exactly as he said. The father tells his son, while he drinks the potion, that he can become the #1 in the city of swordsmen. But looking at the amount of magic he has, it's a good question whether he can become a wizard or not. The father says that also what happened now is not magic. He just released his magic power to use magic. He must increase the volume of this power 100 times. Errol asks her father how he can increase her volume. He shouts that he is lucky, because it is the same here as with the sword. He says, clenching his fist, that by tempering his body, he will be able to gain more magical power by constantly using it. Errol sighs and says that means you need to train every day again. The father says encouragingly that he will be able to repeat it. The father leaves and says that they will finish for today, and that it's time for something to drink. Errol raises his head and thinks that it's really nice to devote himself completely to something. Errol gives Grandma coins and says he would like to buy all the mana potions she has. She asks if it's really to restore magical power, and his father is a busy man. Errol replies that this is not the case, and that it is for him. Grandma is horrified, then puts her hand on his arm and tells him to remember that Grandma will always be on his side. She says they've known each other for a very long time, and she knows he's a good guy, so she'll give him a few for free. Errol says he has enough money. He just asks to give him the whole stock. Grandma screams that she can't just spend the stolen money, then the parents will be upset. Errol replies that he earned the money himself. Grandma cries and says that it must have been difficult for him. He still can't believe that the gods decided to make him classless. Errol calmly says that even classless people can earn money. Later, Errol comes home and is informed about it. His father is surprised to ask him if he did not go to the nearest store. He had been away for a long time. He says wearily that it takes a long time to explain. Later, he and his father train outside. Errol holds out his hands, and a magic ball appears from there. The father claps and shouts to Errol that it's amazing. There is as much magic power here as a novice magician usually has after the blessing ceremony. Errol says that means that after 6 months he starts over. He picks up the bottle and says it's time to drink the potion. Errol asks his father if it is not necessary for him to use magic. The father sadly replies that it is not necessary. Errol says it didn't sound very convincing. The father replies that the fact is that there is still one annoying problem. He holds out a piece of paper and asks to take a look first. He opens it and asks what it is. Is it really a drawing? My father says they are called magical writings. My father says that in order to use magic, he needs a formula written in such letters. It is used as a basic magical component. Errol asks about the formula. The father replies that it is something like a teleportation circle that they found in the depths of an underground labyrinth. It was pulled from a formula used as a source activated due to certain circumstances. However, there is an exception. He usually creates something like this inside his head. Errol says that magicians are not particularly worried about this. The father says that they have the skill for this. Whenever a magician wants to use magic, the formula appears in his head. Errol says it sounds very convenient. His father tells him that he has no skills. Therefore, Errol must make up the formula in his head himself and every time. Errol says it does look like an annoying problem. Father says encouragingly that with enough practice, he will get used to it. He suggests starting with simpler things. He wants to tell his son something. Reina interrupts them and shouts. So that's where they were. She tells Leon and Errol that she was looking for them. Her father asks her what he can do for her. She says that Farah sent her to tell her that lunch is ready. Leon joyfully shouts that then it's time to return. He leaves and hums to himself, wondering what she's cooked today. Errol remains with an open question, even if he taught him the formula. Reina kindly says that his parents are very close. She wonders if hers would be the same if her mom were alive. She admires his parents. Mila thanks for the food at the table and tells her mom that her food is delicious as always. Farah tells her that Rain made today's soup herself, even though she did the finishing touches. Mila frowns. She proudly tells Reina that the vegetables in the soup were difficult to eat, even though she ate everything. Reina looks at her in disappointment. Errol tells Reina that Mila is still small, so she likes soft things, but he liked everything. He says it was delicious. Reina says she's glad to hear it. Reina turns on abruptly, puts the dishes on the table, and shouts at everyone to wait. Errol looks at her questioningly. Reina screams that she came here to become a better swordsman. Why does she only work as a housewife? Farah tells her that the better she gets at any household-related task, the more refined her swordsmanship skills will become. Reina asks why that is. She replies that this is at least because if she has less to do around the house, she will be able to spend more time on her education. Reina then says that she will try her best. The father looks and says that they seem to be having fun. Farah hugs Reina and says it's like she's got another daughter. Reina remembers something and says that she heard that Errol has a sister or brother older than him. She replies that she is the older sister. Reina says she hasn't seen her yet, what she's doing now. Farah says that she said she would create a world in which even a classless Errol would live comfortably. She said that and left town. Reina thinks it's really necessary to go that far for a guy as strong as Errol. Errol thinks to himself that he can hear her inner voice. Reina is washing the dishes. Mila is standing next to her and wiping clean dishes. Farah turns to Reina and asks if she can practice with her once she's done with the dishes. Reina happily replies that, of course, she can. She squeezed the plate so hard for joy that she broke it. Mila looks on in horror. She screams that it was too harsh. Farah says that it seems she can teach her a lot. Mila screams at her mom that she spoils her too much. Dad tells Errol that mom seems to like Reina, just like him. He begins to praise and say that she is wonderful, beautiful. Then Farah comes up and with a threatening face asks her husband, I wonder who he likes more. Leon says that, of course, she is. And that, as always, she looks so young, as if she is still 20. Farah says she doesn't think that would be the case with them, even if mom were alive. He shouts that she is in his first place. That is, she is the only one. Reina looks and is surprised by the princess's anger with a blade. Mila looks in horror. Errol says, well, wow. Later, Errol rides in the cart. He asks the driver how far they are from the city of wizards. It seems to be starting to rain. He replies that it's 2 or 3 days, and that it depends on the weather. He says the weather around this part of the road is pretty depressing. A boy asks him if he is also going to the city of magic. Errol tells him that it is. The boy asks him, isn't he already too old? Why he was so late? The girl tells the boy to stop, calling him Kaido. The girl says that this guy probably failed the entrance exams several times. You can't laugh at the stupid ones. Errol thinks she's trying to be kind, but it's only more cruel. Kaido asks her, Kufa, if she doesn't look down on him even more. She screams that she's not doing anything like that. A little girl asks them if they could stop arguing. They both shout to that girl, Colette, that they're not arguing. At this time, Errol is thinking they are probably on the same team. He remembered those days when he just received a blessing. Most of the people in Swordsman City were already quite strong, so there were more veterans than newcomers. He was then told that they did not need a burden in the guild, and that they needed normal swordsmen, having never accepted Errol. He wonders if the City of Magicians is different. He thinks they are similar. Kaido asks Errol what kind of magic he is good at. He doesn't wait for an answer, and immediately says that he is in red magic. Errol responds without emotion that he is in red. During his father's lectures, Leon said that magic has 6 types. Dark magic is the control or influence of darkness or death. White magic is the control or influence of light or life force. Yellow magic is the control or influence of earth or metal. Father says it's worth noting. The types of skills vary from person to person, and since he has no predisposition and limitations, they can try all the skills he knows. Errol tells Kaido that he does not have any specific specialization. After all, he is classless. The girls in the background are laughing. Kaido glares at them. Kyufa tells Kaido that he is just teasing him. Kaido says it's impossible for a classless one to get into a magical organization. Errol draws conclusions in his head that most young people are aiming for the School of Magic. Kaido tells him that lying is not good. Errol says he wasn't lying. He tells him to look at his profession certificate. The girls are watching. Kyufa says he's really classless. Kaido asks if this is true, and he also wants to learn magic. Is there something wrong with his head? Errol sees and thinks, hasn't this situation already happened? Besides, there's some noise being made. Kaido gets scared. Kyufa says that the cart has stopped. Little Khalida asks if they have heard the sound of a horse. Errol says that this is the voice of the Troll King. It seems that he decided to attack them from the forest. Kaido gets scared and panics. Kaido shouts to the driver that he is just wildly strong, so they have to hurry. He says that the horse lost consciousness immediately after that scream. Kaido asks if that means they can't escape. Khalida screams that they are going to die. Kyufa tells her to calm down. He may be the king, but a troll is a troll. She says that his movements are slow and his body is big, so even their attacks will be able to reach him. They agree with her, and Kaido says that they will use their skills to defeat him. A troll comes out onto the road with the size of trees. They scream in horror that it is too big. They shout that he doesn't look like someone newbies like them can beat. They're screaming that they're all going to die. Kyufa panics and wonders what they should do. Her skills are not that strong. Khalida says that she is too. Kaido tenses up, takes a step forward. He suddenly shouts that he will roast him to the coals with his magic. Kyufa is worried. Kaido says that if he uses all the magic power that he has, he creates a fireball and directs it to the monster. The fire hits the troll's head. He screams what happened. An excellent hit. The troll keeps walking. Kyufa says he got hit, but he did 0 damage. Kaido himself is also terrified. Suddenly, the monster in the fire disappears altogether. Kaido asks what it was. The troll turned to ashes in a second. Here Errol says that maybe he should have held back a little. Kaido looks at it and thinks that it was definitely too much. He wonders in his head if this is really his doing. Kyufa asks if the explosion is not one of the most powerful spells of red magic. Kaido immediately thinks that this is one of the strongest spells, one of those that can be used by people with the class of the King of Magic. The horse gets up. Here Kaido understands everything, kneels down and offers his deepest apologies when Errol enters the cart. He screams in horror that he had no idea he was so strong in magic and even laughed at him. He asks for his forgiveness. Errol says that everything is fine, so he can forget. Kaido asks to be allowed to call him master. He says he wants to become a wizard like him. Errol sighs and says that he is not such a great man. He asks if he wants to see his profession certificate again. The driver says the horse is on its feet again, so they can continue on their way. Errol says that if he had known this would happen, he would have used his sword better. Kaido shouts that there must be a mistake in this certificate. Someone says he's probably hiding his real skills for some reason. At home, in complete silence, Farah drinks tea and says it's delicious. She tells Reina that she has become so good at making tea. Then someone shouts that both are scared. They come out and ask Mila what happened. Mila is trembling. She says that she went to wake up her brother and found this letter in which he says that he went to the City of Magicians. They're all in shock. The mother hugs her daughter, calms her down and says that he mentioned that he was interested in this city, but to think that he would leave like this. Reina says she wonders if her father felt the same way. She decided to leave quite early. Her father said that she was not ready yet, but she replied that the sooner the better. Reina says that, in her opinion, those who are left like this then feel quite lonely. Farah then tells her not to throw them either. Reina says she won't quit. She still has so much to learn. Farah hugs her tightly, and Mila says that mom is too happy about it, although she doesn't care. At this time, Kafto tells Errol that this island in front of them is a city of magicians. Errol says that at least it looks interesting. Kaido surrounds Errol and says that this bridge was created with the help of magic. This city is just for him. Kufa says that this cheeky Kaido is behaving like a puppy. Kalida is watching and can't believe it either. One says it must be because of the magic. The other suggests she keep her distance. Errol feels that they have a terrible misunderstanding. Kaido asks him if he wants to take the entrance exams at the Red School Academy. It indicates where it is located. Errol asks him if the academies are divided into different types of magic. He replies that, of course, it is so. Different types of magic have different magical writings, spells, and all that. Kufa says that she will go to the Academy of the Blue School of Magic. The other says that he's probably going to the Green School Academy. Kalida says she is so nervous. Kaido tells Kufa not to fail the exam, or she will be kicked back out. She replies that it will be right after him. Errol is thinking about the entrance exam. It would be great if he didn't have to pay in advance. Kaido tells him that this is the reception center next to them. There's a girl asking all the examinees to line up here. They arrive at the point. Errol holds out a piece of paper. She examines it, and when she reaches the classroom, asks if there is any mistake here. Errol replies that there are no mistakes here. Errol wonders if he will be rejected just because of this. Here the girl puts the seal and says that there are no problems. She hands back the piece of paper and says that he will be at number 2. She asks him to wait until he is called for the exam. Errol asks her if everything is okay. She replies that no matter what class he has, everyone has equal rights to take the exam. Errol looks and says, then everything is very good. He thinks that the rules in the City of Swordsmen were just too strict. Kaido asks to be allowed to take the exam. Errol asks Kaido if he knows what will be on it. He replies that he has heard something from the magicians from the city. If he strikes a target far ahead of him, then obviously he will pass the exam. They come in and see a little boy using a fireball and hitting a mannequin. He's glad he got in. Kaido says that the target is this mannequin, quite far away. The curator says that the next number is... A slightly older boy comes in and says it's just one fireball. No originality. The curator says, is this really a high-ranking magician at that age? Errol asks Kaido if there is anything amazing about this. He replies that if he is given such a rank after the blessing, then he is a genius. He can then follow the path of Edith. Errol remembers his father, who received a high rank after being blessed, and says that he can also end up as an ordinary old man in the village. The number asks complacently, it's okay if he melts the armor with his magic. The curator replies that he doesn't mind. Kaido tells Errol that this is one of those arrogant guys. He doesn't like him. Errol agrees and says he thinks he's not the only one who doesn't like him. Kaido is surprised. The room is going to burn the mannequin to the ground. Kaido says it's a pillar of flame. This one is really a magician. Others are outraged that he is seriously taking exams with them. Kaido says it's better than he expected, but Mr. is still the strongest. The number turns to them. He immediately says that he cannot ignore these words. He asks if he is saying that his master is on the same level as him. Kaido replies that he is even better than him. Errol slaps Kaido on the head and asks him to stop. The number says that it seems his master has correctly assessed their difference in abilities. He says it's impossible for an ordinary wizard to burn armor like that. Errol tells him that he thinks it will be interesting for him to turn around. He turns around and sees a mannequin standing unharmed. He wonders if he didn't melt it. He says in surprise, to think that she resisted his eruption. The curator says it must be an old mithril armor from their school. The crowd is discussing what kind of mithril it is. Is it that hard metal? Kaido is glad that he failed, even though he was so cocky. Here Kaido starts again, which the gentleman will definitely be able to do. But then Errol hits him on the head again. He tells him not to involve him in this. Here the curator calls the following, number 2. Then the number tells him, since he's so sarcastic, how about showing him your strength? Errol replies that he didn't say anything. Then Kaido comes out and shouts that, of course, the gentleman will make him stare in surprise. He stays in place again with a new bump on his head. He goes to the mannequins, thinks he's using magic on mithril for the first time, so this is a good chance. He might as well give it his all. Errol causes an eruption, after which a certain line hits the mannequin on the head. The number asks what it was. The pillar of flame was so small that he only saw it for a second. He thinks it sucks. He says it's just like a stunt show. Well, at least he had fun. Then the mannequin begins to melt. He screams that this can't be happening. The mannequin completely melts and loses its shape. The room freezes in shock. Kaido screams that he is melted. The number screams that this is some kind of setup, because mithril cannot be melted by an eruption. Errol tells him that he is right, that it wasn't exactly an eruption. With the adjustment skill, he changed the flame concentration and activation time. He wonders if he was regulating magic. Kaido shouts that he will do his best for him, so let him watch. However, Errol leaves. Kaido asks him where he is going. Errol replies that he has gone to other exams. At this time, Kufa uses a water balloon and hits a mannequin. She's glad she got in. Errol congratulates her. She asks him what he is doing here. Errol replies that he is taking the exam. Then the curator calls the next one. Errol uses the Ice Age, which completely affects the mannequin. They're terrified again because it's mithril armor. Errol then goes to the Academy of the Green School. He sees Khalida crying and says that maybe she really can't. He's getting closer, which scares her. He asks her what happened. Did she really rule the exam? She starts screaming that her legs are numb because of nerves. She has not even reached the reception point yet. She starts saying that she is the kind of person who becomes useless when she gets nervous. She asks Errol how he handles it. He replies that, unfortunately, he is not so nervous or may not realize it. She asks in shock if he's not nervous at all. Errol asks her what is causing her anxiety. She replies that she is afraid that she may fail. She thinks that this fear is the main reason. Errol thinks about it, and then asks if he can ask something else. She says she can. She asks her if she's afraid of failing because she's never had a failure in her life. She replies in a panic that this is completely different. Yes, her life consists of failures, so she wants to avoid another one. Errol says that then he doesn't understand if she is constantly experiencing setbacks. Then why is she so afraid of them? She listens and wants to say something. Errol continues her monologue that her life will not end if she fails. She has already experienced them. She knows better. She looks surprised. Errol says he would understand if she died after failing the exam. But that's not going to happen. She agrees and says that, of course, this will not happen. She already says with a smile that everything is right. She will still have a chance, even if she fails. She thanks him and says she will try her best. Continuing the exam, Errol uses a tornado. Khalida is surprised to say that he launched pieces of armor into the air. Errol says it's not mithril. He's moving on. He goes and thinks that he has passed the exams for the Yellow and White Academy, so only the Black one remains. He goes and says that this is practically an abandoned house. It seems that some stray animals live here. Then he hears some kind of scream. He turns around and sees a woman. She asks where Gu is. If he saw her, she turned away for a second and she disappeared. Errol immediately thinks it's better not to approach. He says, pointing with his finger, that he still hears sounds from the box somewhere out there. She looks at the box and tells Gu that it's Mommy. She pulls out a strange creature with wings and says it's a chimera she made. She asks if she's not cute. Then another one comes up to them and says that she still won't learn. A skeleton appears behind Errol and wishes her well at the Black Academy. Errol is surprised and immediately cuts off the skeleton's head with a sword. And the skeleton indignantly grabs his head and asks why he cut off the head of a young lady like her. Errol asks if this is some kind of undead monster. The skeleton puts his head back on and says no. Her name is Retalia. Errol says that there are only weirdos around. No matter who looks at her, it's still a skeleton. Retalia says she is an excellent office worker. He turns to Retalia and asks if she will take him to the exam. She replies that the Black Academy has no exams. She says that there are only children here who want to learn black magic. They welcome anyone. Errol says he doesn't know if this is a good idea. In the background, the woman is still kissing her Gu. Errol reflects that he doesn't seem to have a choice here. Then Kaido catches up with him along with the girls. They are out of breath and say that they have finally found them. Errol asks why they are in such a hurry. They ask him if he will choose red. The other says blue. The third one says that he should choose green. Errol asks them what they are talking about. Kaido asks about the academy he will attend. They say they know that he was accepted into 3 academies. But which one will he go to? Errol replies that he did not plan to choose one. He will be in all 3. He replies that this is not allowed. Errol says something about 6, and then adds about red, blue, green, yellow, white, black. He plans to visit them all. Everyone looks at him in surprise. Errol counts the cards in his hands to 6. Kaido says these are student ID cards for each academy. They're all surprised. Kufa asks if he was really taken in all at once. If no one said anything, Errol says no. They don't seem to share information between different academies. All 3 of them look with interest at Errol, who is sitting on the steps. Errol says that he has received his tickets and familiarized himself with each one. He thinks that there will be no problems with them. Then his face darkens. Kaido asks if something is wrong. Errol says that the lectures take place at the same time. He forgot about that. Kaido says that he also said that it is impossible to attend all academies at once. The teacher asks the children to move away from each other. Errol calmly says that he will practice levitation now. The teacher tells them to first create an image in their head of how they saddle an updraft or spread their arms, imagining that they are a bird. The guys spread their arms to the sides. Errol listens and immediately thinks that this method takes innate skills as a basis. He thinks that even if he imagines it, he doesn't know the right formulas. He's thinking about which one to use. Someone here is shouting that this is amazing. Here, Khalida screams that she is really flying, but she immediately and sharply falls, moaning in pain. The others say with laughter, "This is a hard landing, of course. It must be painful." She turns to Errol and thinks about crying. But then she confidently says that she is fine, and that she will not be stopped by failures anymore. Errol smiles and thinks that she was able to take off after all. A little practice, and she will definitely learn to fly. Errol thinks he needs to hurry up and start practicing. If he needs to imagine an image of an updraft, maybe he can use the tornado formula under his feet. A tornado actually appears under his feet and lifts him up, but after a while he falls even more. He is completely covered in scratches and abrasions. Says that it was clearly a mistake. He gets up, coughs, and is shaken off by Khalid's dust. There's a boy telling everyone that they're losers. He shouts at them to watch. He will show them how to do it. He takes off. Khalida looks and screams that it's amazing. He says he's been practicing levitation ever since he became a wizard, so he won't lose the race. Errol doesn't understand and asks about the race. Khalida replies that this is a game using levitation. She says that the Green Academy is known for this. They fly in a race and determine the fastest. The teacher says that by comparing themselves with others, they will not get better until everyone learns to fly normally. She asks them to help each other. Errol says it sounds fun, so he's joining the race. That smart guy asks if he heard it all. He indignantly says that this is a flight race. How is he going to participate if he doesn't even know how to fly? Errol says he may not be able to do it now, but with enough practice, he interrupts and asks the teacher when the next race will be. She replies that in 2 months. The guy turns to Errol and says that learning to soar is easy, but it takes at least 6 months to learn how to fly normally. He takes off again and shouts at him not to even think about participating in this race. Maybe next year it will work out. Errol thoughtfully says that if he mixes the wind with a similar formula and adjusts them like this. Khalida asks if he's really going to try this next year. He says no, and that in a few months he will learn. Khalida laughs and says that's what she thought he would say. Kaido says they had dinner, and all they had to do was go to bed. Only he doesn't understand why they went back to the academy again. The girls behind him are apologizing. Khalida tells him that she was afraid to go after the forgotten thing alone. Kaido says it's easy to get lost in the dark here. He asks them if they're going to be okay now. Khalida says Kufa said to invite him with them. She hides behind her and says it's just in case. Kufa asks him if he understands. Even with these rumors, he thinks the more of them, the better. He doesn't understand, and the girls are horrified. Doesn't he even know? Kufa says that recently, almost every day, it appears here. He screams in horror and asks what appears. She wants to answer, but Kaido covers his ears and shouts that he is not listening. Kufa giggles smugly. She laughs and asks if he is so afraid. It reminds her of the times when he was even afraid to go to the toilet alone. He says in a panic that it is not necessary to shame him. He tells Kufa what about her. Wasn't she always hiding behind Khalida, who screams that she was just covering her back? Khalida asks them to stop fighting. She says if they keep screaming like that, it might find them. At this moment, a silhouette hovering in the air is visible behind her. They both scream in horror that it is there, outside the window. Then a dark silhouette opens the window, grabs Khalida, and closes her mouth. The two men in fear tell her to let her go. Kaido, with a trembling voice, says that otherwise he will turn him into ashes. He uses fire, and then the silhouette tells both of them to calm down in a calm voice. They will recognize this voice. It's Errol asking them why they're here so late. Kufa shouts that she really wants to know. Khalida asks him what he is doing here so late. Errol tells her to look down. Khalida looks down and sees that Errol is floating in the air using levitation. Errol says he's practicing here to get ready for the race. Kufa keeps hiding behind her and says that means there were rumors about him. Kaido asks if he really does this every night, and he won't ruin his health. Is it okay to constantly be on the verge of death practicing? One of the girls screams that this is not normal. Errol says that he sleeps normally. For example, he just slept. They don't understand what he's talking about. Errol says that he planned to sleep until morning, but woke up because of their voices. Kaido asks him if he really slept while floating in the air. He says that it is so. He can practice while he sleeps, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Kyufa shouts that he is crazy and that it does not count in a dream. Kyufa says it would be better if it were really a ghost. Kaido says that he thought he would become stronger by entering the academy, but he was wrong. He turns to his master and says that, in his opinion, he will never reach his level, but he wants to start practicing on his own. Kaido shouts at him that he will at least become special in the magic he can practice. Kyufa thinks about how much he practices. It looks like he was born a genius. Khalida says that, after all, he acquired his skills with a lot of effort. Errol tells Kaido that first he must learn how to use magic without being afraid of ghosts, who replies that he was not afraid of anything. Kyufa says that she is not trying to copy Kaido, but she will also start training hard in her kind of magic from today. Khalida says that she will try too. They all say goodbye and wish each other a good night. Errol goes and says that he is fully awake now. He sees Retalia and calls her. Retalia asks him if he really came to visit her. He says that he came to get permission to go to the library. Retalia asks which book he wants to borrow today. He replies that he doesn't know yet. Errol takes the piece of paper Retalia holds out and says he plans to read all the books he doesn't have at home. He says that there is a lot of useful information in the books here, and besides, he would like to read it now. Retalia says that most of the guys can't read books about black magic because they make them feel bad. She asks if he will work here. She thinks he is perfect. At the lecture, Errol interrupts and asks the lecturer if he can ask something. The lecturer asks him what it is. He says that the third line in this formula is an error. The professor says that he is right and asks to be allowed to rewrite it. Kaido says he is surprised that the gentleman noticed her. Errol says he can't recreate these formulas in his head, so he had to learn them all. He is horrified and asks how it is to learn a big formula. He replies that there are abbreviations for them, so it's not that difficult. Errol says he can recreate the formula on the board, knowing only 30% of it. The lecturer turns around and says that this is already interesting. He asks him if he could write the formula on the blackboard. He comes out and says, writing formulas, that with this they can turn it into this. The lecturer looks at it and says in surprise that 10 lines have been converted into 6, and it is already possible to activate it using them. He says he understands. He says that now that he has said it, it must not be as difficult as he thought. The students don't understand what's going on at all. The lecturer tells Errol that it is not too safe. If he gets confused here, he can provoke an explosion. He replies that he has a blessing, so everything will be fine, but if it doesn't kill him, then fine, although it will hurt a lot. Then Kaido screams that he doesn't want it to hurt. Errol returns to his seat and says he'll get used to it. The professor thinks of Errol that he understands the formula perfectly. The lecturer asks Errol if he would like to take the transfer exam. He asks about it, and Royce stands up abruptly behind him and asks him to wait a minute. Royce asks him to let him participate in this exam too. Later, the girls ask if Errol is going to take the transfer exam. Kyufa says that this is not surprising. In general, she expected to hear it. Kaido asks why. Isn't it amazing? Kyufa asks if they also told them when they entered the academy that there was an opportunity to skip the first courses. Kaido says it usually takes 2 years. But now, not even a year has passed, but barely a few months. Kyufa says that this is true and really strange. Kaido starts talking about Royce. Touching on the topic of oddities, Kyufa asks which other guy. He shouts that this is a guy who constantly brags about his high rank. He, like the gentleman, also wants to pass this exam. Kaido turns to Errol and says how annoying it is. Errol asks him if he's serious. There's nothing wrong with taking advantage of the chance he's got. Errol says he can understand someone who hates losing. Kaido says with horror and regret that the gentleman really likes Royce. Kyufa says that envy is a bad thing. Kaido tells her that he is not jealous. Khalida tells Errol about the transfer exam. She wonders what it consists of. She happily says that she will also hand it over in a few years, so she asks to tell her about it in detail later. Errol agrees with joy. The lecturer tells Rise and Errol that they will now begin the transfer exam for them. He points to the playground for him. It's a long road with a pit. Errol asks why this straight corridor. Royce says he sees iron bars at the end of it. He says that they have magical creatures trained outside the gates, especially for such exams. The lecturer says that the examinee goes down this corridor. After the cage opens, the magical monster will run right at them, and they must defeat her before she gets too close to them. The lecturer says that if they can handle her, they will pass the exam. It's still simple, but if she gets too close, they may suffer an attack, so he asks them to be careful. He asks who to start with. Errol says he doesn't care. Then Royce shouts that he will go first. He goes forward, goes down into the corridor. The lecturer asks him if he is ready. He replies that he is ready. The lecturer shouts that then he opens the cage. Royce sees a rabid minotaur in front of him. The monster sniffs around, fixes Royce, and starts running at him. Royce realizes that this is too fast. He uses an eruption, but misses because the monster is too fast. Errol tells the lecturer that he did better than in the entrance exam. He changed the formula. The lecturer says that the lessons were not in vain. He says that. However, the eruption is usually used against static targets, and it is not intended for moving targets. In addition, the pressure of the beast rushing at him makes him even more nervous. Royce attacks everything, but misses everything. Then the monster approaches so close that his paw is in his face. He freezes in horror, but the Minotaur disappears. He sits in fear and asks if he has disappeared. The lecturer says with a smile that this is a school, so they take care of safety. Errol sees and thinks that the lecturer enjoys scaring the students. Royce comes out of the hallway, panting and thinking about how he couldn't get into it. The lecturer tells him that everything is clear to him before the result. He explains to the intimidated Royce that they usually come to this only after a few years at the academy. What he has already tried shows his progress. The lecturer hopes that in 2 years other students will be able to defeat the Minotaur. Royce looks up and thinks that means he will be stronger in 2 years. It turns out that the teacher already knew about the level of his abilities and still allowed him to participate. He wipes away his tears and says that he realized that he is nothing, and that he is an ordinary weak magician, but he will not give up so easily and will continue to study to meet his expectations. The lecturer says that he has high hopes for him. The lecturer says that the next Errol and asks him to go down into the corridor. He obeys. The lecturer says that he needs to do the same. He has already prepared a magical beast. The gate opens. The same monster comes out. Errol immediately thinks that this is the same view as before. It looks much bigger and darker. The lecturer looks and recognizes the fur. Then a girl comes up and tells Teacher Backass that she is very sorry. There is a possibility that the high-ranking Minotaur mixed up with the usual ones for the exam. He is horrified by this information. The girl screams that this is why they have to cancel the exam. She sees a monster and screams in horror that it is him. Errol stretches out his fingers and uses a fire spear. There are 2 of them. The magician girl wonders if it's really 2 at a time. The lecturer says that they have less power than an eruption, but they are easier to hit a moving target. As soon as it hits the legs, it immediately immobilizes the target. As she said, it is a high-ranking monster. The monster dodges the blows. The girl screams that he predicted the trajectory and dodged. The lecturer calmly says that this is quite problematic. They have set traps that will stop anyone attacking the examinee, but in this case, it may not work. The lecturer shouts to Errol that he will stop him so that he can go upstairs. Errol shouts back that everything is fine so far. He confidently says that he will defeat him. The lecturer shouts that he will dodge any magic that he directs at him. The girl tells the teacher to look up. She says that these are the spears that Errol just summoned. The spears fly back towards the monster. They are amazed that the monster is falling. The girl screams that they hit right in the legs, so the Minotaur does not move. The lecturer thinks, is it really an accident? But then realizes that it is impossible. He asks him if it was the effect of persecution. He replies that it is, and that he was aiming at his back. And to end it all, he uses an eruption. It hits the lying monster. It completely dies. 3 people close their eyes because it's too bright. There is nothing left of the monster. The lecturer looks at Errol. He thinks that even the best students had problems with the highly ranked Minotaur, and he killed him without giving him a chance. He thinks his level is definitely higher than that of the new students. Besides, he's classless. There must be a reason why he didn't get a certain class. In reality, he sees him as a magician, or even more. He turns to Errol. Errol turns to them. The lecturer congratulates him and informs him that he has passed the exam. Later, Kaido complacently says that it's amazing. Kyufa doesn't understand why he's bragging about it. He replies that the student is always happy about the success of the teacher. Errol says he's not his student. Khalida looks at the sighing Errol and asks if something is wrong, even though he passed. Errol says that, apparently, this exam now looks more like an exception to the rule. Khalida agrees and says that they usually take place once a year at the end of the semester. Kyufa says it's just like this time, but if the professor gives his consent, it's possible. Errol says that the teacher was even the first to talk about it, but it may be even more difficult in other academies. Kyufa asks him not to say that he also plans to take the exam at the Blue Academy. He replies that not only in Blue, but also in other academies too. Kaido shouts that the master can do anything. Khalida screams that she will give her all too. Kyufa does not understand their behavior. She asks him how unusual he can still be. If in the future she is told that he is a normal person, she will not believe it. The teacher asks if he really wants to take the exam. What is he saying? She turns away and says that the exam is held once a year. He says he knows. He says it's possible if the professor agrees. She replies, it's only possible for truly gifted students. Errol asks her if she would like to take a look at his blue magic then. She replies that it is possible after a few more lessons. Errol tells her that it's just a waste of time. He wants to move on without wasting time on lessons. She furiously asks what he just said. She asks him in anger if he calls her lessons useless. He replies that he did not mean it. He just wanted to say that they are not for his level. Kufa tells him that he is good at magic, but his choice of words is just terrible. Errol asks if this is true. She says if he wants to go that far, then why doesn't she take a look at his skills to see if he's worthy of the exam? Errol asks why she didn't agree right away. Kufa shuts his mouth with his hand and apologizes to the teacher for him. Later they come to some room. He comes in and says there's quite a bit of space here. The teacher says it's just a training area. Kufa is sitting on top and watching them. She thinks she knows Errol is strong, but Hagel, as the president of the academy, she is another candidate for the Magic King class. He really pissed her off with this. She doesn't know how it's going to go. The teacher suggests starting, observing the rules of the training battle, no physical attacks. The one who breaks through the divine protection of the other first will win. Errol asks if he wins, she will let him take the exam. The teacher does not understand what he is talking about. She asks him if he's crazy. She's just evaluating him. He says he can beat the teacher. Errol thoughtfully says that he will never know if he doesn't try. He says that maybe he has a chance to win. The teacher is silent for a long time, and then smiles sharply. She tells him that he seems to be even more arrogant than she thought. Errol even looks scared. The teacher says it's great if he's so cocky. Then she decides to start with something. She immediately uses an ice storm. Kufa coughs from behind. She thinks she's with Errol. Her lips are frozen from the cold. She sees that everything is frozen here at once. The teacher says it looks like if he didn't react in time, he turned into a huge icicle. She proudly says that he is behind her. The essence of training battles like this is to show from the very beginning the strongest magic that he has. She turns away and happily says that it would be good to remember this. Then the ice begins to crack. She turns back and wonders what's going on. Errol's fist sticks out of the huge ice. She looks at it in surprise. She thinks maybe he used the protective spell Ice Barrier. Errol comes out and shakes off the ice. The teacher thinks to himself that he prepared this spell in advance and activated it at the same moment as she did, so he blocked her attack. She starts to think that he seems to be pretty good at creating a formula. Here Errol says it's his turn now. He uses the edge of the ice. The teacher says with a smile that this is a beginner level skill, and there are about 5 pieces of ice. A pretty talented guy. Kufa thinks to herself that her limit is 2 pieces. The teacher asks if he really thought he could beat her with something like that. It reflects the edge of the ice. Kufa looks surprised and delighted, thinking that Sensei is amazing. She perfectly intercepted all the ice. Errol now understands, so she is a real professor. She says thoughtfully and defiantly that it reminds her of something. She tells him that he used the ice edge in the entrance exam, so he specializes in it. She says it won't be enough to defeat her, even if he increases the number of icicles. Errol asks if this is true. He suggests testing this theory. He uses the ice edge again and says it's time to double the amount. The teacher says she just told him it wouldn't work. He attacks while she says that even she can create about 100. Errol says it's more than 100 on the right side. The teacher turns around in disbelief. Errol says there are still as many on the left side. He says there's another 100 behind her. She thinks, really, from all sides at the same time. She thinks it's easy to increase their number, but changing the side from which they appear requires a more complex formula. She realizes that she won't be able to knock them all down with just an edge of ice. She uses an ice shield, but admits to herself that it's hard. Although the number has been increased, but the strength of each of them should be less. But they hit as hard as before. But in the end, it's still a beginner's level. He won't be able to break through her shield with it, in her opinion. She thinks that if anything happens, she will use those ice blades for her own protection. This way she will save her magic power and defeat him with a simple blow. With the level of strength he uses, he will soon run out of strength. She plans to go on the attack as soon as his attacks stop. He shouldn't have enough magic to defend himself. They're all standing. Errol sighs and says he thinks it's time to end this. The teacher asks him what he is trying to break through her shield with. He says that he made it so that she would not be able to pierce her own shield. She doesn't understand. Errol conjures an ice spear from behind her. The spear from behind is flying straight at her. She keeps wondering if, after creating so many pieces of ice with the edge of the ice, he can still use other magic. She keeps thinking that the ice spear is a very destructive skill. She screams that she needs to move away. However, here she realizes that she is trapped. The spear is flying at her. The barrier from above has protected her, but she understands inside that it is about to break. She barely says that she's going to lose to a student now. The spear breaks through her barrier. she really loses. Errol later says that he got a promotion at the Academy of Blue Magic. Where should he go next? Khalida asks how it was. Kaido says he would really like to see it. Kufa proudly says it was so cold there, so she left in the middle. Another teacher asks him if he really wants to take the exam at the Academy of Green Magic. She thinks it's impossible if he doesn't have a good reason. She looks in the books that there seems to have been one case here. She says she will look at the condition. The book falls off the shelf by itself. She used the wind to get it. Errol thinks it's convenient magic. The teacher says she found it and reads it out. Due to the fact that the recruit had excellent grades throughout the academy, the director personally gave him permission. Errol thinks about it. The teacher immediately tells him that this is not allowed. Errol says he hasn't said anything yet. She asks him, he was going to ask him, wasn't he? She says the director is terribly busy right now, so she can't let him bother him. She threatens him that if he tries to change her mind, he will be forced to leave this academy. He replies that it's fine, he won't do it. He says that, in his opinion, he will have to wait for the real exam. She asks if he is going to participate in the air race. He replies that he is going to. She then says that maybe he can talk to the director. Errol is interested. She says that the director should present the event. He personally awards the winners. Errol says that he understands. Then he will have a chance if he wins the race. The teacher says that he needs to win. She has heard that it is hard for him. He says that if he can win the race, he will show him his skills at the same time. Errol leaves and says she will do it and thanks her for her help. The teacher thinks that this guy has not been able to fly for a long time. There is a lot of noise at the General Assembly at the race. Kufa says that a lot of people came to watch the air race. Kaido asks Colette why she is not participating. She replies awkwardly that she still can't fly well enough. From the podium, they shout to Errol that he can. Kaido calls him the master. Someone hears this and asks Errol if he just called him a master. The guy who can fly asks him if it's because he's a master of digging the ground during exercises in the magic of flight. Errol looks at him and then asks who he is. In anger, he shouts at him not to forget about him so easily. They go to the same practical lessons. He says that he is a flock, a guy who will become the best master of flight magic in the whole world. He keeps saying he's going to get even better. Errol turns away and looks for the director, eventually finds him in the jury. The flock says that he will be the winner today. Errol says without emotion that it will be him. The flock thinks to themselves that this guy is as self-confident as possible, even though he can't even fly. He leaves and tells Errol not to embarrass himself. The presenter announces that it is time for the famous Green Academy Air Race, where they will play the first Magic Cup of this semester. Grid will be the host today, and Dunble will be the commentator today. This one asks to be taken care of today. Kaido says what a wild fame he has. Kufa says that Danble is very cool. Khalida says that he has a great voice. They turn to Kaido and ask why he doesn't switch places with them. Kaido asks her if she knows that he is married and besides, he is much older. They ignore and say that they just met eyes. He definitely looked here. Kaido shouts to the gentleman that he should crush Danble. Errol says he's not involved. The presenter asks the participant to approach the white line. All the participants stand up. The presenter asks if they are ready, then they start. The air race begins.